Beyond the Veil, Secrets of the Universe, Ancient Gods, and Hidden Knowledge, Part 26. The Dual Faces of Yahweh, Unraveling the True Origins of the God of Judaism and Christianity, according to the Law of One. Welcome to the Positive Vortex, infinite love and light to all truth seekers. Today, we are embarking on a mind-expanding journey into one of the most enigmatic and controversial figures in human spiritual history, Yahweh, the supposed God of Judaism and Christianity. Who or what is Yahweh? Was Yahweh a benevolent creator, or was he manipulated by higher cosmic forces? Could the Yahweh of the Old Testament actually be two separate entities, one of light and unity, and the other of control and domination? To understand this divine paradox, we must explore the information provided in the Law of One material by Ra, a sixth-density social memory complex that has provided some of the most profound metaphysical insights ever recorded. If this is your first time listening, I highly recommend starting with our episode on the 7 densities of consciousness to fully grasp the structure of universal evolution. Now, let us shatter illusions, unravel cosmic deception, and decode the true origins of the God of the Bible. The misunderstanding of God in the human psyche. Before diving into Yahweh's identity, we must first clear up one of the biggest misconceptions in human history, the idea of God as a separate being. When people think of God, they often envision a supreme ruler sitting on a celestial throne, a bearded man in the sky who judges and commands, a jealous, vengeful deity who favors one group over another. This image has been deeply ingrained into religious thought over thousands of years. However, according to the Law of One, this anthropomorphic vision of God is an illusion, a misunderstanding of what the Creator truly is. The true nature of the one infinite Creator. The true God is not a separate being. The true God is the one infinite Creator, the infinite intelligence that exists within all things, as all things. This Creator does not have form, gender, or limitations. It is pure consciousness, the source of all existence. Every being, from the smallest atom to the most advanced extraterrestrial, is a fragment of this infinite consciousness experiencing itself. Thus, the real God is not a being we can worship as an external force. It is the very fabric of reality itself, the energy that flows through all things. So where does Yahweh fit into this understanding? Let's return to the beginning. The Martian Exodus and Yahweh's genetic experiment on Earth. The arrival of the Martians, according to Ra, Earth's third density cycle began around 75,000 years ago. However, at the beginning of this cycle, a unique event occurred. A civilization from Mars destroyed their planet's atmosphere through war and reckless technology. This catastrophe forced the displaced Martian souls to relocate, and Earth was chosen as their new home. These beings were not identical to modern humans, but were part of the same cosmic evolutionary process. Yahweh's role as a genetic engineer, the confederation of planets in service to the one Creator, a group of highly evolved beings overseeing Earth's evolution, took on the responsibility of integrating the Martian souls into Earth's evolutionary timeline. Yahweh, a sixth-density social memory complex, took direct action by genetically modifying the incoming Martians. His intention was to enhance their DNA to accelerate their spiritual evolution, help them better understand the Law of One and the unity of all things, create a more advanced version of third-density beings who could grasp the nature of consciousness more quickly. The genetic modifications, a double-edged sword, Yahweh used 2 primary methods to modify these beings. 1. Cloning, creating identical biological copies of a genetically modified prototype. 2. Physical interbreeding, introducing his own genetic material into the developing human species. This genetic experimentation resulted in the creation of a new type of human, one with enhanced intelligence and spiritual awareness. However, this genetic intervention had unintended consequences. The Martian-derived humans began to see themselves as superior to other native Earth humans. They developed tribalistic tendencies, hierarchies, and elitism. This created division rather than unity, leading to conflicts, power struggles, and eventual manipulation. Seeing the imbalance caused by these modifications, the Confederation of Planets imposed a quarantine on Earth, ensuring that no further direct intervention could take place. But by then, it was too late. A new force had entered the equation, one that would forever alter the course of human history. The Orion infiltration, how Yahweh's name was hijacked by negative forces. At some point in Earth's early history, a highly negative extraterrestrial faction from the Orion constellation began manipulating human evolution. This Orion Group, composed of service-to-self beings, recognized that humanity's spiritual progress could be hijacked through deception. Their strategy: assume the identity of Yahweh. They pretended to be Yahweh, inserting themselves into human religious systems. They redefined Yahweh as a jealous, vengeful, authoritarian deity. They demanded absolute obedience, introducing fear-based control systems. They established the concept of chosen people, ensuring that certain groups saw themselves as superior. They used Yahweh's genetic experiment to create royal bloodlines and elite rulers who would dominate the masses. The two Yahwehs, the split in the God concept. Thus, two versions of Yahweh emerged. 1. Yahweh I, the original Yahweh, a benevolent sixth-density being trying to uplift humanity through genetic upgrades and spiritual guidance. 2. Yahweh II, the Orion imposter, a negative entity that hijacked Yahweh's name to establish a system of domination, control, and obedience. How this affected the Bible and religious texts. The Old Testament contains elements of both Yahwehs. The loving, guiding Yahweh in some passages reflects the original Yahweh's intentions. The wrathful, vengeful Yahweh demanding blood sacrifices, wars, and destruction reflects the Orion infiltration. Many ancient texts, including parts of the Torah, Bible, and other religious scriptures, contain a mix of authentic divine wisdom and distortions introduced by Orion-based negative forces. The modern implications of the Yahweh conflict. Even today, the legacy of Yahweh's hijacking continues. Religious institutions still operate based on fear, control, and obedience rather than spiritual liberation. Political and financial elites trace their power back to the chosen bloodlines created by the Orion Group. Religious wars, divisions, and conflicts are fueled by the same manipulation that began thousands of years ago. However, as we move into fourth density consciousness, we are awakening to these deceptions. Humanity is beginning to see that the true Creator is within us, and that no external God has power over us. The time has come to reclaim our divine sovereignty and break free from the illusion of separation once and for all. The evolution of the Yahweh concept across human history. Now that we understand how Yahweh's identity was hijacked and manipulated by external forces, let's explore how the idea of Yahweh evolved throughout human history, shaping major religious doctrines and the social structures that continue to govern much of our world today. From the earliest Sumerian and Akkadian myths, through ancient Egypt, Israel, and Rome, to the monotheistic traditions of Christianity and Islam, the figure of Yahweh has transformed, adapted, and merged with different cultural influences, often losing its original meaning along the way. In this section, we will 1. Trace the Yahweh concept from its pre-Israelite origins. 2. Explore how the Orion Group distorted this identity to enslave human consciousness. 3. Examine how modern religious institutions continue to carry these distortions forward. 1. Yahweh before Israel, was he a tribal war god? The earliest references to Yahweh do not come from the Israelites but from pre-Israelite Semitic tribes who worshipped a variety of gods, including El, the high god of the Canaanites, Baal, a storm god often linked to fertility, Asherah, a mother goddess, sometimes seen as Yahweh's consort. The first historical mentions of Yahweh appear in Egyptian texts from the 14th century BCE, referring to the Shasu of Yahweh, a group of nomadic herders who worshipped a deity named Yahweh. Canaanite texts, where Yahweh seems to be one among many local gods before eventually being elevated to supreme status by the Israelites. At this point, Yahweh was likely viewed as a tribal god, a protector deity who fought on behalf of a chosen people, much like the gods of other Near Eastern cultures. However, it was only later, after the influence of Orion negative forces, that Yahweh was reinvented as an all-powerful, vengeful ruler who demanded absolute obedience. 2. The Orion hijacking, how Yahweh became a tool of fear and control. As we explored earlier, the original Yahweh was a benevolent sixth-density entity attempting to assist human evolution. However, the Orion Group, composed of highly negative extraterrestrial factions, hijacked this identity and reshaped Yahweh into a fear-based figure of domination. The Orion strategy, war, slavery, and worship through fear. The Orion entities operate using a well-established method to control planetary civilizations. 1. Create a system of hierarchy and obedience. 2. Introduce a ruling class that acts as chosen representatives of God. 3. Use religious laws to enforce control, promising rewards for obedience and punishments for rebellion. 4. Promote war, division, and blood sacrifices to generate fear-based energy that negative beings feed on. We can see this pattern clearly in the evolution of Yahweh's role. In earlier texts, Yahweh was merely a tribal deity. In later versions, Yahweh becomes a jealous, wrathful God who demands war and submission. Examples of Orion manipulation in biblical stories. Several key events in the Old Testament bear the unmistakable signature of Orion-based distortions. 1. The chosen people concept. Instead of teaching unity and oneness, Yahweh declares that one group, the Israelites, are superior to all others. This separation mentality fuels racism, nationalism, and war. 2. The demand for absolute obedience. Yahweh gives Moses the 10 Commandments, but with strict warnings. Anyone who violates these laws must be killed. This turns spiritual evolution into a fear-based system rather than a path of love and understanding. 3. The command to wipe out entire populations. Yahweh orders the Israelites to slaughter the Canaanites, Amalekites, and other tribes, claiming they are wicked and must be destroyed. This is classic Orion strategy. Use a small ruling class to exterminate rival groups, ensuring greater control over resources and power structures. Blood sacrifice and ritual slaughter. Yahweh repeatedly demands burnt offerings and blood sacrifices, which are practices commonly associated with negative entities seeking energy harvesting. Many ancient civilizations who worshipped Orion-linked gods also engaged in human sacrifice, feeding the energetic needs of their overlords. Thus, we see how the original message of unity was replaced with war, conquest, and submission. 3. Yahweh in the age of Christianity. Did Jesus try to overthrow the false Yahweh? By the time of Jesus, the negative Orion Yahweh had been fully established in the religious consciousness of the Israelites. However, Jesus' teaching strongly suggests that he was trying to expose and dismantle this false Yahweh system. Jesus' radical departure from Old Testament Yahweh. Unlike the Yahweh of the Old Testament, Jesus preached love, forgiveness, and unity rather than obedience through fear. Rejected the idea of chosen people, saying that all are equal in the eyes of the Creator. Challenged the religious elite, calling the temple priests vipers and blind guides who had distorted divine truth. Performed miracles through love and faith, rather than relying on rituals or sacrifices. Why was Jesus killed? It is likely that Jesus' teachings posed a direct threat to the Orion-controlled religious system, which is why. The Jewish priesthood, Sanhedrin, who upheld the Yahweh-based control system, saw Jesus as a dangerous revolutionary. The Roman Empire, which relied on religious obedience to maintain control, feared his growing influence. He was ultimately crucified, silencing his radical message before it could spread too far. However, even after Jesus' death, his message was quickly reinterpreted and reshaped by religious leaders. The Council of Nicaea, how the Orion system infiltrated Christianity. In 325 CE, Emperor Constantine gathered religious leaders at the Council of Nicaea to formalize Christian doctrine. Many of Jesus' more radical teachings, especially those that encouraged self-empowerment and direct connection to the Creator, were either removed or altered. The church hierarchy was established, reinforcing obedience to religious authorities. Yahweh was fully integrated into the Christian God concept, ensuring that the Orion control system remained intact. Thus, even though Jesus attempted to break free from the Orion distortion, his legacy was co-opted and rewritten to fit the same old hierarchical model of control. The modern implications of the Yahweh paradox. Today, humanity stands at a crossroads. The influence of the Orion Group still lingers in religious institutions that continue to promote fear, obedience, and guilt. Political systems that rely on hierarchical structures and mass control. Economic models that enforce dependency, debt, and servitude. However, we are also seeing an awakening. More people than ever are questioning organized religion and seeking direct spiritual experiences. The concept of oneness, energy, and consciousness is gaining widespread recognition. The true Yahweh, the benevolent sixth density being, may be reaching out to help undo the damage caused by his Orion imposter. Conclusion: reclaiming divine truth. To truly reclaim our spiritual sovereignty, we must 1. Recognize that the Creator is within us and not an external ruler. 2. Free ourselves from hierarchical religious control systems. 3. Embrace our own divine nature as infinite fragments of the one infinite Creator. The time for blind obedience is over. The era of self-realization and higher consciousness is upon us. The real question now is, will we awaken to the true Creator, or will we continue to serve a distorted illusion of divinity? The journey through the mystery of Yahweh reveals a profound truth, one that has been hidden beneath layers of history, manipulation, and distortion. We have explored the duality of Yahweh, the Orion hijacking of religious systems, and the deeper metaphysical reality of the one infinite Creator. Now, the choice is ours. Do we continue following the old paradigm of fear, obedience, and separation, or do we reclaim our divine sovereignty, recognize the Creator within, and step into the higher truth of unity and love? The time of awakening is here. No external God, ruler, or system holds power over you, unless you allow it. If this episode expanded your awareness, click the thanks button to support this channel and help spread this knowledge. Subscribe, share, and leave a comment below with your thoughts, because together we are dismantling the illusions and stepping into a new era of truth and higher consciousness. Until next time, in infinite love and light.